Hi, I'm John Stewart, and I approve this message. The right to know. It is a privilege most of us take for granted, especially when it comes to something as customary as grocery shopping. However, this right is today unrecognized for every United States citizen, because GMOs, or genetically modified materials, do not have to be labeled on any food products. Current policy allows food industries to hide under a GM veil, which entitles them to purposefully withhold information about their products from consumers. Therefore, buyers today are unknowingly participating in an ongoing human test trial to determine any long-term consequences of consuming genetically engineered foods. We are human guinea pigs. Genes change naturally through random mutation, but when genes are systematically retrieved, copied, and introduced into other organisms, that organism is termed genetically modified. One example of a genetically modified food particle gone wrong is translated fat. This GM food ingredient seemed like a health breakthrough at the time, but proved to be more detrimental for the body than the natural product from which it was modified. Now translated fat content must be listed on nutrition labels. Required labeling on all GMOs should be the lesson learned from translated fat, especially since today nearly all non-organic processed food products in the U.S. contain ingredients from either genetically engineered crops or animals given GM feed, vaccines, or growth hormones. Now, although science has become a well-respected and trusted field in rise of modernization, it should be noted that biotechnology is much less precise than previous science technologies. These genes are inserted into a living organism, which means they have a choice on how to accept and displace the gene. Genomic studies have already shown that possible unintended side effects of consuming GM material could include phenotypic changes, DNA sequence analysis disruption, altered gene expression, and alteration of metabolic pathways. Scary stuff. Even those involved in initial genomic research proclaimed that assessments must provide sufficient assurance of GMO safety before marketed to consumers. Somewhere down the line, introducing GM crops became more about monetary importance rather than consumer safety. Just a few public concerns about GMOs include potential mutant allergen dangers, fear of gaining antibiotic resistance found in GMOs, possibility of losing all natural non-GMO crops completely, moral views on creating new life, loss of consumer sovereignty, and the steady rise in E. coli contaminations since GMO introduction in animal feed. Makes me feel sick just thinking about it. Seems like a no-brainer. So why is current policy restricting GMO labels? Under the Bipartisan Trade Promotion Authority Act, companies manufacturing genetically modified foods are not legally required to label their products as such, and even prohibits food companies who don't use GMOs to label their products as GMO-free. Why is our government defending big business rather than addressing public concern, and what can we as consumers do about it? The Genetically Engineered Food Right to Know Act is now floating through Congress and would call for all GMOs to be labeled. But we can't hold our breaths waiting for this bill to pass. Food industries today are far too powerful and rich to battle in court, so instead, I recommend a bill be first put into place to amend the Bipartisan Trade Promotion Authority Act so that non-GMO companies may label their products as such. In this scenario, consumers are still gaining knowledge and choice, while advocates aren't spending millions fighting food conglomerates. Instead, there is call for political leaders to introduce a bill allowing non-GMO companies to label their products as such, and for consumers to advocate for the passing of this bill along with spreading awareness about the potential risks of GMOs. After all, don't you want to know what you're eating?